This episode was produced in cooperation with the ETH Entrepreneur Club, a student organization which aims to inspire, educate, and empower the next generation of entrepreneurs. The ETH Entrepreneur Club holds more than 40 events every year, resulting in an impressive alumni list of successful startups. If you want to keep up with their busy agenda, make sure to give them a follow on social media.
They will get the most recent and the best product they can get, and we also ensure a recurring revenue that helps us to grow.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Mina, a very warm welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's my pleasure to be here.
You're the co-founder and CEO of Voliro. You are developing the world's most advanced flying robot for safe and efficient work at height. We're going to talk about your product, how you got there. But first, we want to focus on your personal background. After getting your BA from the Politecnico di Milano, you went to study robotics at the ETH in Zurich. And I wonder what actually brought you to Zurich from Milan?
So one of the main reasons I wanted to come to Zurich for studying engineering is the closeness of the university to practical application. So when we study here at ETH engineering, we have much better chances to touch hardware and do real practical work. And that's not always the case in different areas. So that was one of the main attractions for me to get close to the real implementation and hardware when I wanted to study engineering.
Makes sense. And also Zurich and Milano are not that far away from each other.
Exactly.
Was it actually difficult, to have a foot in the door here and to move to Switzerland and get also the permit to study here? Was that a difficult thing to do?
Actually, was not difficult. It was a smooth transition. Of course, at the beginning, you are coming to a new place and there are all the challenges. But at the end, when I look back, it was not a hard transition. Was quite smooth.
And you actually got excellent grades, like both in your BA, but also in your master studies. In your experience, is it only the students with the top-notch grades who get to focus and actually found successful companies afterwards?
No, I think it's not related at all. The good grades show only maybe dedication and interest. But it has no relation to future success after graduation. So it's not. I don't think it's highly related to building successful company.
Got it. But I like the focus that you just said, like dedication and the hard work.
Yeah.
That's something that you can for sure also take away and apply to your own company. So ETH, there are many successful spin-off stories out there. But I also wonder, when you actually studied here, in what way does the ETH, but also like the associations around, like the Entrepreneur Club at the ETH, support and also motivate you to start your own company? Were you, touched or inspired by anything from ETH to really get started with your own company?
Yeah, definitely. I basically during my study, mostly during the PhD, not only the master, but mostly during the PhD, I was able to see different spin-offs coming out from ETH and growing. And the idea of building something that goes out on the market and being used by other people is very fascinating. It's not just a prototype that you build in the lab and use it for some projects and it's over there. I was really inspired by seeing something out there that other people are using and is creating value for other people. So that's why I was very interested to move forward with this. And from our lab, we have a lot of history with spin-offs. I studied with Prof. Roland Siegwart in the Autonomous Systems lab. And he is really helping a lot and pushing entrepreneurial spirit in his team. So if someone comes with an idea that has potential, he would support this to move forward. And I think there are around 15 companies already in operation out of our lab. So that's a very, very nice indication.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about Roland in a minute. But first focus on what you did after your master studies. In 2015, you started a project called AeroWorks with the professor Kostas Alexis. What was that project all about and why was it the right step after your master studies?
Mm-hmm. So AeroWorks was a project that aimed to develop what we called aerial robotic worker. So it's basically the very core idea of how Voliro developed afterwards. And the idea was basically that we wanted to have flying robots that can approach structure and do lightweight inspection and maintenance jobs, not only visual inspection or flying cameras, but can do more than just that. And the project was supported by the European Commission with a Horizon 2020 grant. It lasted for 3 years, and we started to explore what are potential applications for such a solution. A flying robotic solution can add to society and to improve the maintenance and inspection of infrastructure. And the project was led by Swedish university, Luleå University, and it was a consortium of several industrial and academic partners as well.
Got it. And let's also focus, on AeroWorks as like the basis for Voliro afterwards. So in what way has this project actually contributed to the launch of your own startup afterwards?
So within AeroWorks, we try to look into what potential applications could come out from having a tool that can fly and perform physical work. So we understood very early that there is a lot of market, a lot of need for such an application, but the technology was not ready during AeroWorks. So during AeroWorks, we were exploring different possibilities, different tools that can be used for such an application. And actually during AeroWorks, we came with the idea of tiltable rotors or Voliro's drones. And then we saw the benefit of having this kind of new development, and it took off from there.
Awesome. And then in 2019, you actually founded Voliro together with, in total, 5 co-founders. That's a pretty high number. So how, first of all, did you meet your co-founders? And second, how do you actually split the roles and made it work as a team? Because 5 is still, I would say, at the top end of the ideal number of co-founders that people suggest to have.
Yes. So we knew each other from before. So we worked together in the lab, and we all have complementary skills in the company. So they were all needed to basically make Voliro a success. So we try to distribute the roles based on what everyone is good at and is willing to also to do and enjoys doing. So we have people who have experience in automation, in perception, in navigation, because we have a vision with Voliro to move forward towards automated inspection. It's not only just manual flights or with a pilot operated drones. We want to move forward to automation, to data analysis, and all these steps will need special skills, and we think we have the right team to do that.
Awesome. And also, I wonder, with 5 co-founders in total, how do you actually make decisions? Of course, it's an uneven number, so that actually helps. So there needs to be a decision if you vote. But how does that show in practice? How do you make decisions with 5 co-founders and also make sure that you don't lose too much speed because you need to involve everyone all the time?
So what we try to establish very early is ownership in different areas. So everyone is responsible for certain area in the company, and they basically are responsible and accountable for the areas they are responsible for. Decisions that are regarding the ownership and the whole company structure, of course, these take a bit of time to discuss and convince everyone. But to day-to-day operation, we don't have to vote on every decision. We try to assign roles and responsibilities, and we also, of course, have a certain degree of trust that people will take the right decision when it's regarding their area.
Got it. Seems like a good setup for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take a step back and look at the market opportunity at hand. So we now understand where you come from and that there was a gap in the market that you identified and then also filled with Voliro. But let's also focus on the exact problem that you solve. So for your clients, what's the specific problem that you address and solve with your company?
So we are trying to make inspection much easier, faster, and cheaper. And clients want always to find a way to reach inaccessible area in an easy way. And what we offer with Voliro is a flying drone that can also approach and touch the structure. And up to today, drones were mostly used only for visual inspection. So you go in confined space or outside and collect pictures, thermal images, but there is always a problem that in certain areas you need also to perform non-destructive testing or in-depth inspection to find corrosion or structural problems that you don't really see with a camera or with a thermal camera. And there the only way to do it is by building scaffolds. So you build very expensive scaffolds and climb up on a structure to collect these readings. And that's very costly, and at the end the job is lightweight job. It's not hard or tough work to do. That's why we wanted to go in with Voliro and offer a flying tool to our customers so they can get into inaccessible areas, whether it's at height or in confined spaces, and perform also work that would require touching or physical work with a flying robot, which is very agile and flexible. And of course, we start with the inspection, but we have plans to move forward also towards lightweight maintenance jobs. So we want to offer solutions that can do inspection and maintenance for capital-intensive assets.
Got it. And I can imagine that, the physical work that you replace there, that can also be pretty dangerous work every now and then. Are there any statistics or data that you can share with us about, workplace injuries maybe that happen because of these kind of type of work, and how you can make that safer with your solution?
Death in workplaces, the number one reason, or I would say number two reason of death in workplaces is falling from height. So people falling from height is one of the most dangerous situations. And if you build scaffolds or hire rope access team, you always have the risk that someone might fall off the scaffold and you endanger the people, right? So you have to, especially in areas where the safety requirements are not always met, in areas where you don't have very strict following on the regulation of safety of people. So we want to reduce this and let people really go on height only if it's really needed to perform a large job. Lightweight inspection and maintenance jobs could be done by robots. So we always say let the robots do the dirty job and let people stay on the ground, not up there.
Yeah, if a robot or a drone fails from above, nobody gets hurt, ideally, unless you hit someone, but you don't fall from height. So that's much, much safer.
Exactly.
How often does that actually happen? Are there any public numbers available? How often that somebody actually falls from height and gets seriously injured or even dies per year, per month, or any number that you have?
I think around 30,000 deaths per year are happening due to falling from heights. That's a very rough number that we came up with by looking at statistics, but it's a serious number, so we try to reduce that. Yeah.
And you also said that for now you focus on the lightweight work that you can also already conduct with your drones. So do you have any specific examples what that actually means for people that might not be that familiar with the industry?
So, for example, one challenge is if you start to see small spots of corrosion building up on your asset, or small spots of pitting or loss of paint on a structure, the protective painting or coating of assets, let's say, for example, storage tank or pipes at height, and you want to just fix this small spot, and you don't need a lot of force or any special skills to do it. You can do it with a flying robot that can approach this structure and perform this lightweight coating job or spraying job. Also, it can include lightweight scrubbing of the surface or cleaning of the surface. So these kind of lightweight jobs that doesn't require lifting of heavy equipment and performing very physically demanding jobs.
Nice. Sounds like the future is just around the corner from my perspective, or already here. When talking about launching a startup, people often also talk about timing. Why is the right time to actually launch right now with the product or the service at hand? So for Voliro, why was the right timing to start in 2019?
One of the main reasons is that we saw basically that there is a very strong push and need from big oil and gas companies and petrochemicals and infrastructure companies to optimize their operation, to provide faster and cheaper, to get faster and cheaper solution to maintain and inspect their assets. So that was basically the right time to also push a new technology on the market, and we see a lot of interest from these large customers that they would like to explore, find better ways to do their jobs. Now, if we would say 5 or 10 years ago, probably that was not really the case. optimizing the operation was not what everyone was looking for. Sustainability is not what everyone was focusing on. Now it's more prominent topic for every company, because the competition is also kicking in regarding energy in the energy sector. So we see that optimizing operation is one of the key factors that made us move right now.
So you basically see different trends aligning at the same time, and that can then actually result in a good timing.
Exactly. And also, of course, the technology maturity. So we now have better components that you can buy. The computer science is progressing. The computers are getting smaller, faster. So it's time to push really for automated and more integrated solutions.
And I think that's then where the magic happens, right? You have the push basically, or the ask, the demand from the market, where the different trends align, but then you also have the technology that makes it possible to actually serve that. And
exactly,
that's a very nice sweet spot to address.
Yeah, exactly.
So when building a company, usually you also face some obstacles along the way that you need to solve and overcome. One thing that probably is something that keeps you busy, like from day one on, is that your co-founders, you all come from a research background. But when building a company, you actually also need to market and to sell things. So how did you actually make up for that missing part, at least as it seems from the outside?
Mm-hmm. So very early on, we also onboarded business figures in the company. So we knew that we have this challenge. So we tried to also get on board a business figure or people with business background to help us, and we always had very much support from our advisors. So we involved very early on advisors who were involved in many companies, and they know the key challenges, and that helped us a lot. And one of the main ideas we had is that we also want to learn about the business area and how we can basically create a great company or successful company. So that was also very helpful, that we knew that we have this challenge coming ahead, and we were prepared to push to address it.
Nice. I think that's actually the right way, because having the technical background and then learning the business part is probably easier than having the business background and then learning the technical part, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Still, I could imagine that many ETH spin-offs or startups actually face that challenge. Like, hey, we have a very strong technical background, but we lack the business background. So where did you find it beyond your advisors? Where did you then actually get and onboard the business knowledge for your company? Were there any resources or talent pools that you could access?
Yeah. For example, we were part of several coaching sessions by, let's say, Venture Kick and Venture Lab. So that was very helpful to also learn about the challenges. And at the end, if you abstract the technology, the business is at the end very similar in different areas. So the technology is solving a problem, but the core of the businesses is quite similar. So abstracting the learning and trying to apply it on our use case was a very nice learning for us. There was a very steep learning curve for the whole founders team.
Absolutely. Was it also a discussion in the beginning, in the early days, to have a business co-founder in your co-founding team?
Was not strongly proposed or discussed. No, we also wanted to learn this and push for it. So that was not really strongly discussed. Of course, hiring business people, that's definitely on our roadmap, and to get more and more people in the business area. But involving on day one business figure, that was not really something that we heavily discussed.
Is there any structured way of gathering the customer feedback, so that you don't just follow a trial and error principle, but actually gather structured feedback to then also be able to make the best decision possible on how to move your product forward, but also how to probably adapt your pricing and business model behind it?
So we always try to start the customer journey, what we call the customer journey, with a very detailed discussion on how they would use this product and what are they willing to pay for it. And then we move to what we call a proof of concept, where we show them how the product can be used on their use case, and collect feedback from them about the product during a phase of a proof of concept. That then translates into or moves into what we call an early adopter program, where the customer will get a system for 6 months. And we try to be very selective about the customers who would get this system, because we try to be strategic about the feedback we collect from the customers. So we select areas that we think they will grow and they will really have a lot of demand in the future. So we select customers for the early adopter program based on that. And then we go to the general availability where the drone will be basically available for usage for the customer. And we try to offer a whole package around it for servicing, maintenance, and upgrades. So the drone is always upgraded and has the most recent features for all customers at the same time.
And that's, I guess, also how you then access recurring revenue, right? So you don't sell a product that they buy once and say, here you have it, now we're done. You actually sell the upgrades, the new products and so on. And that's how you actually get the recurring revenue, everything that you're basically looking for as a startup.
Exactly. I mean, recurring revenue is very interesting to have for a startup, but it has to also make sense for the customer. And as long as the customers likes your product, they will be paying to get the additional services around the solution. So it's always a win-win situation for the customer and for us. They will get the most recent and the best product they can get, and we also ensure a recurring revenue that helps us to grow.
And I can imagine, first, like introducing a new technology in an existing market, probably the cost pressure there helped you, but that's like one challenge on its own. But then also introducing a new business model of, instead of paying a one-time fee, having this recurring revenue, the recurring subscription that they pay. That's a second challenge that you had to solve to really, convince them to be part of and become your client. How were you able to put both off at the same time?
Drones are not very new for most of our customers. They already use drones for many inspections. They only use it for visual inspection or for assessment of the structure with a camera. Now it's additional tool, so they already are aware of drones regulations. They already have pilots. It's not really complete new solution that they are getting from their perspective. It's another drone that can do more than just visual inspection for them. But for the business model, we get basically different feedbacks. So many customers like it a lot, and they say, yeah, that's awesome. We don't have to buy any product anymore. We just have to pay for a service, and you will maintain and upgrade the system. That's a very nice thing. They see it as a very positive model. And some old-fashioned industries or companies, they also say, no, we just want to buy a tool and just use it as is for 5 to 10 years, and of course you end up with an outdated drone because the technology is moving very fast. So you will either have to buy another one in 2 years or go for a subscription model, which is very helpful for both sides. So that's
true.
Yeah.
So how were you able to convince them, if at all? Did you try to convince them, or did you just say, hey, we only do like the recurring business model. There's no possibility of buying just a single product without the subscription? Or do you actually also offer that if a company is asking for it?
So in some regions also we found out that subscription will not be an option at all. Like in some areas in Asia or in the Middle East, it would be very hard to push the subscription model.
Why is that the case?
Different reasons. For example, who owns the hardware, liability, the mentality of the management in these companies. It's very hard to push just a subscription model. In some other areas, for example, in the UK or in the US, it was very easy with certain customers. They loved it. They said that's very nice. We would like that. So it's a challenge, and we are also exploring and validating this model, right? So it's an exploratory phase where we see if this model would work with everyone or we'll have to adapt along the way.
Another obstacle that you basically had, or most likely still have to overcome, is how to deal with uncertainty. Now, when you build a startup, you never know if you know all the facts. You probably don't. And what will happen tomorrow, basically, in some cases. So how do you deal with that uncertainty? Can you actually use it in a positive way, or is it more of an energy consumption and a distraction for you?
I think we use it in a positive way in the sense that we try to be agile and adapt very quickly. Sometimes you have to take decisions that change, stuff can change very fast. And of course you find some resistance from the technical team that why are we doing this and now we are changing. And you have to explain or try to get people on board to understand that there is very quick changes and we cannot have a very precise plan for the next 5 years. Things might change very fast and we have to adapt and be able to change stuff very fast and be agile, basically. And that's the beauty of a startup, because we are small, so we have to be agile as well.
True. Let's also talk about opponents and supporters. You already mentioned some of your supporters, like Roland Stigwart, for example. Please tell us a bit more how you actually work together, in what way that he and the Autonomous Systems Lab at the ETH have actually supported you along the journey so far.
The core of the technology was developed at the Autonomous Systems Lab. So I was doing my PhD, and my co-founder, Timo Müller, joined me as initially as master student, and then we hired him as engineer to keep developing the solution with us. So the Autonomous Systems Lab basically offers you a lot of freedom. You can work on what you like and try to push new stuff and new technology. And the main motivation for everyone is to really see a new technology being demonstrated or used in certain area. And of course, because it's academia, so we also have to publish and make the knowledge available for everyone. So that's a very interesting setting, because once you have a mature enough solution, you can think about spinning it out, and ETH also supports this a lot. So you will get, for example, here in Wies, Zurich, that's a place where you can push forward and bring the product out from the lab to the market with a lot of support from the university. So the Autonomous Systems Lab basically is a great place to develop and explore scientific work, and also push it to be a product if you think that this can solve a real problem for people out there, and if people have the entrepreneurial mindset to push it out.
Awesome. I also wonder in what way, I mean, of course, product development and future enhancement research is crucial for the business that you're in, but I also wonder in what way has ETH or the whole research part in the background also helped you to, for marketing purposes, to win over sales? In what way is the research background also supportive in that regard, if at all?
Mm-hmm. For example, we had certain collaboration with other universities on the particular topic of inspection. So that's Imperial College, for example. They are very, very good in developing sensors for inspection. And we started this collaboration on integrating the sensor on the drone. And that immediately showed a lot of interest from end users. Because if you show to oil companies or asset owners a drone that flies very nicely but has no sensing capability, they are not very interested. So they want to really see the full integration of a sensor and the drone and the real data collection capability that you can offer. So that was basically how research, the result from the research, which was basically published papers and videos, helped us to get in contact with several end users who showed additional interest in getting the solution.
So in that regard, research can actually also generate sales for you then?
Definitely, it's also publicity, and most of these companies, they have R&D departments, innovation departments. They read the most recent publications, and that helps also to get publicity and show also that there is a solid background in the solution. It's not it's not just a prototype, but there is a solid scientific work behind it.
Another part that, of course, often shows up are your investors. You closed a seed round this year with 2 million Swiss francs, led by Alpana Ventures. Please talk a bit more about, what the money will be used for and how Alpana Ventures has also contributed as a supporter to your journey.
So the deal with Alpana was really easygoing. They were very supportive and helpful. We were mostly in contact with Alex Fries, one of Alpana's partners, and then we got to know the rest of the team afterwards. And the money will be mostly used to push the product to the market faster. So we have the support from Wies Zurich, of course, but we needed more funding to get more engineers, especially experienced people that have experience in certifying a product and building a product that can be really sold on the market. And the product development is a skill that you can build, but it takes a lot of time. So we needed to really hire experienced people to push on this end. And that will accelerate our time to market. That's the main use of the fund that we raised, the 2 million of the seed round. And Alpana basically is a great investor to have on board. They support us also with advices, with connections. They follow up what is happening, if we need any connection with someone they might know, that they will not hesitate to put us in contact with them. So it's a really great investor to have on board.
The support is beyond just the investment, the money part.
Exactly, yeah. that's what we try to also look for when we get investors on board, that they can give more than just money, but more support in different areas.
So now we talked about the supporters. There are, of course, also opponents that you face. Some you can control, others you cannot. As the first one, regulations. That's something that can keep you busy and can also change. I think in our prep call, you mentioned to me that Switzerland might or might not join the EU drones regulations. Maybe you can give us a bit more context about the potential outcome and why this regulation is so important for you.
So regulations regulations are key for successful missions, and you need always to have your papers in place to ensure successful operation and also safety of everyone. And regulations is the way to do that. We always try to see regulations as a sword with two edges, basically. So one edge is it can help to ensure safety and successful operation, but it also could block many other applications of robotic deployment or drones technology. So we try to find the right balance between these two. And with the EU regulation, it's actually a very nice regulation framework that is coming out that will enable drones to be or the regulation to be unified all over Europe. Before it was depending on the country and on the local regulation, so you would have to check the regulation in each country separately. Having a unified regulation, that's very helpful, because once you have a permission to perform a mission, you have it basically everywhere in Europe. So that's a very positive aspect. The negative aspect, of course, is that the regulation was not fully clear for everyone. So there were a lot of changes back and forth, and not very clear when it will be implemented fully. So that was a challenge and uncertainty that we had to try to deal with. Switzerland might not be fully part of this EU regulation. It's not very clear yet. We are in constant discussion with Basel and with different entities to see how this will proceed. One of the main reasons, of course, is Switzerland has a strong drones hobby community, and with the new regulation, they would have to perform certain registration to be able to fly their model RC or model drones. So that's one of the reasons why Switzerland might not join the full new regulation of the EU, but it's still an open topic and still in discussion. So we hope that we will find an easy solution for it.
As a startup, you cannot directly, impact the decision that is coming there from the Swiss government, but also from the EU government. Like the big companies, they have their lobbying efforts that they put into place. So how do you actually position yourself as a startup if things might change, also maybe drastically to a certain degree, with new regulations that you need to follow? So how do you position yourself to be ready for the future, but also to not sort of limit what you do today, because that can still take ages until it's actually implemented. So how do you strike that balance about worrying about the future, but also preparing for the future?
So one of the key elements is basically constant discussion with these entities that are making the regulations, and try to find what they would like to see on our drone to give permissions to do the operations. And that's a constant discussion and updates that we do from our side on the drone to make sure that it would fit the new regulations, and also try to see what other rules they are planning to implement. And one way, of course, is basically that most of the drone startups here in Zurich are in discussion, and we are talking to other companies. We, for example, presented a letter to the parliament here in Switzerland, urging them to join the EU regulation, because that will help us in the future to just get one permission and use it everywhere in Europe. So we are trying also to generate awareness of the importance of unified regulations that will help us to move forward in the future.
Make sure to also send that podcast link to the responsible people in the government.
Will do.
Another challenge or obstacle, opponent probably, that you also face is corporate culture. When you sell to a large company, it can take ages until you reach a decision whether they want to buy your solution or not. How do you go about solving that problem?
That's a problem that is there, and we have to deal with it. It takes time to reach a decision in large corporates. They have budget distribution, and they have a quite long time decision making. Sometimes we try to try to reach out to the management that would approve a budget for certain projects. We try to reach out to them and try to make things move faster, but that's a challenge that is always there.
How long does it approximately take for you to close a deal?
It can take 6 months, for example, to close a deal with a corporate, or even longer. So 6 months, and then you have the contract, the reviews of the contract, and all these details. So it might take even a bit longer. Yeah.
Was there anything that you tried and worked well to actually shorten that cycle?
Showing them the benefit of the technology and trying to reach out to the right people within this corporate will definitely help. That's the only way we try to push for to accelerate this time, and sometimes it works.
Now let's also look a bit, at the current state and the future. You now have 15 full-time employees working for you. You also closed the 2 million seed round that we just heard more about. We also had Alex Fries on the podcast actually, and his model is, looking for technology startups in Switzerland, but then helping them to actually expand to the US. So what is next for Voliro? Are you planning to go to the US market and actually also open an office there, or what are your future plans?
Definitely, that's one of the plans, but that will happen once we reach certain maturity degree of the product. So once the product is mature enough, we can start to do this and open maybe an office in the US, and of course in Asia is very attractive market, especially Singapore. So we will definitely look at that as well. Our next step will be basically once we have the product being deployed on small scale on the market, then we will go for the A round, where we will get basically additional fund to grow the deployment of the product.
Is there a rough timeline on that? Like when you would like to raise the A round, and also how much you would like to raise there approximately?
The timeline we expect towards mid to end next year, so towards Q3 2021 maybe next year, and the amount is not fully fixed yet. We expect something between 5 to 10 million. It's a very broad range, but that's what we expect.
So to conclude this episode, we always like to ask our guests about their personal gadgets and resources that they can recommend. Are there any books or blogs, podcasts, also personal gadgets like a tech gadget or whatever comes to mind that you use yourself on a personal basis or a regular basis actually?
For example, one of the personal gadgets I use often is my sports watch, the Garmin watch, which basically tracks all my activities and is very helpful for me to also see if I'm doing enough movements and enough sports or not, because that helps, because you can get lost on your desk for many hours, and then that's a problem. So it would warn you need to move now and do some movement. That's one interesting gadget that I'm currently using. In terms of books, I really like a book called Dare to Lead, which basically helps how to interact with people and build a successful team culture and push that in a nice way. So that's one of my favorite books that I just finished reading recently.
And now to actually finish this episode, we have some rapid fire questions for you. I either give you a choice of 2 or 3 options or a short question, and you can answer in 1 or 2 sentences. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So the first one is regular office or home office?
Home office.
Why? Because you have a manufacturing part here in the cellar.
Personally, I like home office. I enjoy working from home. Of course, the hardware team will have to come to the office because we need the hardware to work on. But I enjoy home office. It gives you more flexibility and you can be more productive.
Got it. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
To focus on important stuff, not get distracted there are many distractions. So focusing is very important.
What is one distraction that you got rid of?
For example, when we started the company, we had in mind so many applications. We had so many crazy ideas we wanted to go for, and at some point we had to narrow our focus on one application and start with that. So that was of course a distraction, because every customer comes with a different idea, with a new application, and they won't use your solution for it. And it's very tempting because we are at the end engineers and we like to try new stuff. So we had to reject many crazy ideas and focus on one market or one direction.
Nice. Building or selling?
Building, yeah.
Engineer at heart.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Where do you actually go to think?
I like to walk around the lake. That's the lake of Zurich. I like walking around the lake and thinking about whatever I have in mind. That's where I go to think. Yeah.
And the last one for you, you have Egypt roots, spent time in Italy, now live in Switzerland. So Switzerland, Italy, or Egypt?
That's a very hard question. Every place has different character, right? So in Egypt, for example, the family and the home and all of this experience of very young or very old friends. In Italy, new friends that I knew quite well, and also the nightlife in Milano and all these interesting adventures in Milano. And then Switzerland is more about the work and the nature, and every place is different. So, for example, I would go back to Milano every 2-3 weeks for a day or two, see for old friends, and it's very hard to choose. They're all great places, and I enjoyed living in all of them.
So there's not a single choice. It's basically depending on the occasion.
Exactly, yeah, depending on the occasion.
Makes sense.
True, yeah.
Mina, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and an impressive journey that you've walked so far. And we wish you and Voliro all the best for the future, and look forward to the opening of your US office and the Series A hopefully soon.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.